Hey guys, Barrett here with Specca Tech. Welcome to the channel. Today we have a video that I'm really excited about. I've been waiting for a few weeks to get these unboxed. I just had other videos that I needed to get done first. But we're going to unbox and do an overview of the SVS Evolution Pinnacle Towers. This is the granddaddy of the new series, the biggest towers that they have. So I'm really excited to get them out of the box and get them set up in my system to see how they sound. So let's get into these boxes. So these towers are pretty big and they are pretty bulky, but I like that SVS included some handles on the outside of the box, as you can see down there and there, and on this box as well. We got some handles. It just really is helpful to get them inside your house if you have a long way to carry them. You just tip it on their side, and as long as you have two people, you grab the handles and you go. And on the outside of the box here, it does say to open here. So let me grab my trusty knife, give it an old flick, and let's see how we're supposed to unbox these. So opening it up here, we'll see if there's any other further instructions on the inside. Okay, so once we're in the box, we actually have this handy strap, which I'm guessing is to help pull the speaker out of the box. And then we also have the feet here. So we have some spiked feet, as well as some threaded washers for carpeted floor. I'm guessing the regular feet are already on the speaker itself, but let's just put those off to the side. Okay, so let's see how easy it is with this strap to kind of just slide the speaker out. That is pretty easy. So even though these are pretty hefty and pretty big, with this strap, it makes it incredibly easy to get it out of the box. I wish all manufacturers would go with this idea, actually, so kudos to SVS. All right, so when we pulled it out of the box, you see some paperwork here. It'll be your warranty information, little manual, and some advertisement promotional stuff. Once you have it out of the box, this strap is just attached with Velcro on the top. So you just want to undo that Velcro. Let's get the styrofoam off. So a nice hefty piece of styrofoam on the top. Okay, so because the speaker has an angle to it, this middle piece of styrofoam doesn't seem to want to slide up like it would with a normally rectangular shaped speaker. But I see that they've taped it on the sides, so you can just separate it that way. I ended up breaking it anyway. Sorry, SVS, when you get these returned, you're going to have a broken piece of styrofoam. I tried. All right, and then the bottom piece is already separated, it looks like. So you can just tilt it forward and take the one piece off and let it down gently on the back and tilt it back and get the other piece off. You know what, guys, I have to admit it, this is probably one of the easiest unboxings of a tower speaker that I've ever had. So kudos to SVS for actually planning this packaging to make it easy for customers to unbox. Thank you, SVS. I actually really do appreciate it. Excellent unboxing experience. All right, now we got some of the packaging out of the way there. Let's just walk this off of this last piece of cardboard here so that we can get the strap. Oh, I see, okay. So the strap is fed through the cardboard, which is why I was struggling to get it out of there. So we'll just leave it in there and put it back in the box. And let's get this front and center. All right, so on the outside of the plastic, you have the magnetic grille, which does have an angle to it to fit to the curved or angled front baffle. Seems to be a pretty decent grille. It is a plastic frame, but pretty sturdy. It does have some flex to it, which is actually a good thing. It's not going to crack too easy. So yeah, nice enough grille. You got the SVS logo on the bottom there. All right, so let's get the plastic off. All right, now the big reveal here. Let's get the bottom of the speaker off of the cloth here. So it's a nice, like a cheesecloth style. Nice and soft. But here we go, guys, the big reveal. Ta-da! Wow. All I can say is wow, guys. The finish on this is spectacular. Very clean. No scratches or marks or anything, at least from where I can see here. And it just looks like it's a thicker finish on it. It doesn't look like it's thin. There's quite a few coats, I think. At least it sure looks like it. I'm just going to leave this on the top for now. But one thing I did notice is when you're leaning it back, it is a little bit back heavy. So it wants to tip pretty easily. Forward, not as much. Not as much. You can push it quite a bit more forward before it wants to tip. back, you just take it back a little bit and it wants to fall over. So keep that in mind, guys. If you're going to push this back, it is going to tip over easier going backwards than forwards. So having a look at the front of the speaker, it's a very premium looking speaker, guys. The finish is amazing. But you have these two beefy 8-inch drivers, one at the top and then one at the bottom. That's going to handle your bass section. And then you have two 5.25-inch mid-range drivers, which is obviously going to handle the mid-range. And then you have this nice 1-inch diamond-coated tweeter right in the middle. And the reason for this curvature, they claim, is to time align all these drivers so that when the sound hits the listener, it's hitting the listener at the exact same time. All right, so now let's have a look at the side of this giant speaker. So wiggle this back a bit. So there's definitely some rubber feet on the bottom of some sort. I'll maybe have a look at those in a second. But as you can see from the side, you got that curvature, which I was just explaining for the front baffle for the time alignment. But it does carry through to the back baffle as well. So that it does give the speaker a unique shape, which I do like. It looks good. From the front, you're not really going to be able to see that anyway, but it's kind of nice to have something a little unique like that. All right, so let's have a look at the back of the speaker now. So you got two more of those beefy 8-inch drivers. You got one at the top here and then one at the bottom. And then you have two pretty big ports, one at the bottom here and one here. They look to be about a 3-inch port, but they're made of plastic. They look like they're about 7 or 8 inches deep. Hard to see from here, but they're not too deep. You can see the inside of the cabinet there. You have the standard plastic SVS terminal cup. I did mention this with the Evolution bookshelves as well. It would be nice to see them use something a little bit more premium, like a brushed aluminum or even just some sort of metal. But you still have the standard plastic terminal cup here. And then a nice set of 5-way binding posts, which does look to have possibly gold-plated jumpers in between them. But that's what we see inside the box, and that is the first look at the speaker. But my first impression is that it may be one of the best, if not the best, gloss black finishes that I've seen. I think it's better than what they've had in the past. Not that their previous gloss black finishes were bad, but this seems to be just a little bit better, maybe a little bit thicker. Maybe they added a couple extra coats. I'm not sure if they did make any changes, but my first impression is that it looks better. All right, now that we've gotten the first one out of the box and you guys kind of saw how they were packaged, again, kudos to SVS. Well done on the packaging. That was one of the easiest unboxings of a tower speaker, especially of this size, that I've ever done. So let's get this one out of the box so that I can plug it into my system and hear how they sound. I will give you guys my first impressions on how they sound after we give a rundown of all the specs. I'm really happy that I was finally able to get these out of the box. They have been sitting there for a few weeks and I've been patiently waiting to find the time to get this video made. So I'm really excited that I got them out of the box and I got them set up. They look really, really good. My first impression of pulling these things out of the box, a beautiful looking speaker. SVS did a really excellent job on the gloss black finish. It looks fantastic. I do have the bookshelf speakers in white and that finish looks fantastic as well. But there's one more thing that really impressed me, and it may seem kind of silly or kind of trivial, but the packaging that SVS had with these speakers is truly fantastic. I've unboxed a lot of things in my room and sometimes it can be a real pain. It can actually get a little bit frustrating sometimes when the packaging wasn't really thought through very well. But SVS really thought this packaging through, from the Velcro strap that you use to pull it out of the box to the separating styrofoam on the bottom of the speaker, which is actually one of the best things about the packaging, because that is one of the hardest things to get out from a speaker, especially if it's a heavy speaker. For example, when I was unboxing the Legacy Airy speakers that I had in here previously, there's a hefty piece of styrofoam on the bottom, which is great for protecting the speaker, but it's a 180-pound speaker, I believe, and trying to get that speaker out of that styrofoam was truly challenging, especially when I was trying to do it by myself, because it's not something that you can get your hand in there and lift the speaker out, and then if you try to walk it out, you're kind of ruining the styrofoam, and I did end up ripping that styrofoam. So SVS putting some thought into how they package the speaker and how you're going to be able to unbox it. I actually really do appreciate it. So well done, SVS. I thank you for that. Okay, so now that we've covered that, let's talk about some of the specs of the speaker, what I do like, what I don't like, and I will give you guys my first impression on the sound quality as well. And of course, if you guys want more detailed specs, I've dropped links down to these speakers down in the description below, which will give a rundown of all these specs and the technology that SVS is using in these speakers. And while we're talking about technology, we might as well talk about the new technology that SVS is using in these speakers that they've never used before in any of their other speakers. So the first thing I want to cover is the baffle itself. It's an acoustically centered time alignment cabinet architecture, and essentially what they're talking about there is the curve on the front of the baffle, which does carry through to the rear baffle as well, which I do think it it gives it a nice aesthetically appealing look, but it also serves a purpose. So they curved the front baffle so that all of the drivers are time aligned, and what that means is that the sound is going to hit the listener's ears all at the exact same time. So it should clear up the imaging and the sound staging just a little bit. And I have to admit that when I plugged them in and listened to them, I was impressed with their sound stage and imaging. So I don't know if that's attributed to the curved front baffle or not, but I can say that they do image and soundstage very well. Now, another thing that we've already mentioned in the unboxing video is there's also two 8-inch drivers on the back. And SVS is calling this a force balanced array. So essentially what that's going to do with these drivers moving in and out at the exact same time is it's going to reduce the mechanical energy. So instead of having all these drivers on the front that are moving in and out, which can cause the cabinet to move back and forth just a little bit, having the base drivers, which have the most mechanical energy, moving in and out at the same time should greatly reduce the mechanical energy. So you shouldn't have the cabinet rocking back and forth. For the most part, it should be inert. It should stand perfectly still. And lastly, one of the main features that SVS is touting for this whole speaker lineup is their new diamond coated tweeter. They're using a process called vapor deposition, which just puts a thin layer of diamond carbon which is applied to the aluminum dome tweeter to vastly improve the rigidity and the acoustic properties. So what this means to you is that it's supposed to push the frequency response well beyond the limits of human hearing, resulting in effortless, airy, and unveiled highs. The diamond coating also pushes the low frequency extension of the tweeter deeper for more seamless blending with the mid-range. And then over top of that 1-inch diamond tweeter, you have an organic cell lattice tweeter diffuser, which of course does protect the dome, but it also employs semi-random pattern derived from the organic cell structure, which improves the off-axis response and maximizes the listening sweet spot. So that's the new tech that SVS is using in this whole lineup of speakers. But the Ultra Evolution Pinnacle speaker itself, it's a ported floor standing tower speaker using dual 3-inch wide flared rear firing ports, which can make it a little bit more difficult to place, so keep that in mind. You're not going to want to put this necessarily right up against your back wall, or you could get a little boominess in the bass region. I have mine pulled out about 2 feet from the wall, and that seems to be fine enough. You don't need a whole lot of space, but you definitely do need some space. The cabinet dimensions are 49.68 inches high by 11.81 inches wide and 18.14 inches deep. But including the feet, it is 50.2 inches high, and each speaker weighs in at 96.7 pounds. The frequency response is 24 Hz to 40 kHz plus or minus 3 dB. The nominal impedance is 6 ohms. Sensitivity is 88 dB, and the recommended amplifier power is 20 to 300 watts. So you shouldn't have a whole lot of trouble powering this speaker. It does say that it's a 6 ohm nominal speaker, but I can imagine that it probably dips down closer to 4 ohms in certain frequencies. So you shouldn't have a whole lot of trouble powering the speaker, but do keep that in mind that this speaker probably does dip down to 4 ohms. But given the fact that it is 88 decibels sensitive and you can use 20 to 300 watts, it shouldn't be an issue powering the speaker with pretty much any amplifier that you have, or even an AVR. And lastly, this is a 3-way crossover that SVS claims uses premium grade capacitors, inductors, and resistors. The tweeter to mid-range crossover is 1.8 kilohertz, and the mid-range to woofer crossover is 140 Hz. I'd say that covers pretty much most of the important specs, but if you guys do want more detailed specs, like I said, I've dropped links down in the description below that will take you to the product page, and it does give a nice description of the speaker. So yes, these speakers do seem to be pretty specced out with their 4 8-inch woofers, their 5.25-inch mid-range drivers, and their 1-inch tweeter, but how does that sound once you plug it in? My first impression of the sound is that it is quite big. Now, yes, the speaker itself is quite big, but I found that the center image was above the speaker itself, at least in my room, and I do like that. It's kind of like you're looking up at the stage and listening to a live performance. I also found them to image and soundstage quite well. The soundstage was broader than the speaker itself, but the other thing that really stood out is, of course, the bass. You have 4 8-inch woofers here, and they do put out a ton of bass. So much so that I can get my room to start vibrating and shaking at louder volumes. So obviously I can't say a whole lot about the sound because I've just plugged them in and listened to them, but my first impressions is that it's pretty detailed in the mid-range and the top end. I do feel that the top end might be a little bit boosted. I also feel that the bass might be a little bit boosted, but we'll talk about that more when I do the full review once I've had some more time to play with these speakers. But overall, I'd say it's a nicely detailed speaker. In the top end and mid-range. There's also plenty of bass, like I said, that can shake your room. For the bass heads out there, I think this would be a fantastic choice of a speaker, so make sure that you stay tuned for the review. If you are looking for an absolute flat speaker, I don't think this is it. I think it is mostly neutral, or pretty close to being entirely neutral, but like I said, I do feel there's a little bit of peaks in the treble region, and possibly some peaks in the bass region as well. But all in all, I am digging the speaker so far. I really like the look of it, I like the finish of it, and I'm having a lot of fun listening to it. It's just just a fun speaker to listen to. But make sure that you stay tuned for the review. I'll try and get that out within the next 3 or 4 weeks. And to stay tuned for that video, make sure that you subscribe, tick the bell icon if you do, and please take just one short second to hit that like button. I always do appreciate it. Remember, I have dropped links to these speakers down in the description below, and please do consider using my links. It doesn't cost you guys anything extra, but I do get a small commission that does help keep the channel going. I do reinvest most of what I make from YouTube and the affiliate links back into the channel and back into other equipment that I can bring in and review and share with all of you guys. So I really do appreciate, and it really does help out the channel when you use those links. Remember to enjoy your systems. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.